Welcome to the Robcast. This is a show about Oakville, the people that live, work, and do business here. We've got this great guest today. This is MacDonald. She is the national host and content creator for the Weather Network. She is a breast cancer survivor and patient advocate. You're not going to want to miss this conversation.
It's the Robcast podcast. He's with you for the next hour or 20 minutes. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. Here he is. It's Rob Raham.
Kim, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to kind of just jump in, we do have something in common, and we are actually both Brock Badgers, so as alumni there. And I know you went to Niagara and did radio and telecommunications, but was there a point growing up when you looked at a TV, or what got you down that road of broadcasting? I'm picturing you sitting on the carpet watching Peter Jennings or something. I want to be like that.
Yeah, I didn't think that I wanted to be an anchor woman. I did think about that about the age of 19.
Okay.
But I realized that I really wasn't good at a lot of things when I was a kid. I wasn't athletic. I wasn't particularly popular, but I had a gift for public speaking. And we had this thing in Niagara called the Kiwanis Speech Arts Festival.
Okay.
And when I was about 10 years old, I went into this. And so what you would do is you would either recite a poem or you would recite a piece from a play, for example, or maybe act out a scene in a play.
Like a monologue, how long was it?
Yes, a little monologue, each one. Say it was a poem, for example, it would be maybe a minute long.
Yeah. Well, we're 10, right? So we're young.
Yeah, we're 10 years old. We're young. You would get 12 or 13 kids all getting up on a stage and reciting the same poem. Imagine the adjudicator for this. Riveting.
Yeah.
And so they would have to judge you and then place you in first, second, or third. So I realized after, when I was doing this at 10 and 11, I would always place first. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea I could do this. Yeah. I wasn't really that outgoing as a kid, a little shy, but for some reason I could get up on a stage and recite in front of a judge, which is kind of a big deal when you're a kid. And I just kept doing that. So I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe I have a little,
that's so interesting.
A gift.
I was pretty good at sports and, pretty outgoing, but I could not go on stage. It was a night, and still is hard for me.
Most
anxiety.
people can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually, I remember one guy, he gave me I had to, for another business I was doing, I had to speak in front of thousands of people. And he told me, just put a paper clip in your pocket and pinch it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I did it, and it changed everything. It's like you've kind of refocused not on what you're doing. You're just going to just hold the paper clip. Anyway, so I just thought it was a little interesting tip. You obviously did not have to do that.
I did not have to do that. Now, I'm not saying I didn't have nerves, and I'm not saying that I don't have nerves. So it's I get a little adrenaline rush. Just like if you're in sports, you probably have a little bit of nerves at the beginning of a game, of butterflies. Yeah. Maybe you're running a race, whatever it is.
Do you still today when you're on TV, or is it now just pretty natural?
I do not get nerves on TV.
Okay.
But I do a lot of public speaking, and I definitely get nerves in front of a crowd. So there's a difference between having a whole bunch of people in front of you and just talking to a camera. So camera, fine. Public, not so fine.
Got it. So we're 10. We found your hidden talent.
Yes.
And so,
and plus, as kids, we were always performing in front of our parents, drag out the kids, put on a play,
Is that right?
My dad would play guitar for parties. He's from the East Coast, and he would ask me to sing with him. So we were always kind of performing as kids. So I didn't initially want to go to school for television or broadcasting. I didn't really think of it as a job. I was going to be a teacher because my mom was a teacher. My dad was a principal. I was in school my whole life.
Yep.
This is what I knew.
Yep.
Not a big world out there in the 80s and early 90s. So I started to go to school thinking that I was going to be a teacher eventually, and caught the bug early on at Brock University, started working for the paper. Mm-hmm. And then we started a TV show on our local cable station called Brock TV.
Really?
It was the newspaper group. All of us became on-camera people at our local
Awesome.
television station.
Yeah.
And so that's where I thought, okay, this is actually something I'm good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you kind of the face of it, or were you just helping with the content and the creation of it?
I was a reporter.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
So
I
you
was
were
an
on
anchor.
location?
I was on location. I got some interesting interviews. Like a few bands would come to Brock to play,
Sure.
as you remember back
Yeah.
in the day. So we had 5440 and I interviewed them, and we had Pursuit of Happiness and I interviewed Mo Berg, and we had Blue Rodeo. And I just remember sitting in the newspaper office at Brock University,
Big bands. Yeah.
interviewing Jim Cuddy and Greg Keeler, and it was this is 1991 or
Yeah.
something. So
So
yeah,
that was thrilling. You got kind of a rush from doing it.
yeah, it was pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
It was super
So
fun.
did that kind of then lead you into Niagara and radio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a communications degree. I switched after my first year at Brock, went into communications,
Yeah.
got that degree, kept doing the cable TV stuff, but didn't really have any experience
Sure.
other than that. So I decided to go to Niagara College
Yeah.
for radio and television. When I was in just before second year university, I got a radio job at 97.7 Hits FM
I saw that. Yeah.
for the summer. I ended up working there later, but I worked there for the summer in
What was
promotions.
it? Rock. What was the name of it?
97.7 Hits FM.
Hits FM.
Yeah, Southern Ontario's best rock. So,
I remember that.
yes. So I worked there for the summer driving around their promotions van.
Okay.
And I would play music for free at community events and people's backyard parties,
Awesome.
essentially. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But I did this without Google Maps.
Oh, the
Yeah,
old yellow book. You had like the thing. Like,
I had an actual paper map.
Yeah.
Wow, it was Pearlies.
Pearlies,
I don't think I used Pearlies. I think I actually used a big old
Like
map.
an old map.
Yeah, I
across
couldn't-
the whole dashboard.
Yeah, I never folded up again
Yeah.
properly.
Like, were you all over Southern Ontario with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was all over Southern Ontario.
What a cool job for the summer.
It was a great job,
Yeah.
and I got the bug there too. Seeing that, I'm like, people come to work every day and play music, and they get paid for this stuff.
Yeah.
So I really love the idea of radio as well.
Yeah. You never were actually on the radio with 97? You were just kind of running behind the scenes with it?
Yeah, they would bring me in occasionally. What have you been up to, Kim? And I would chit chat on the mic, but not very often.
So you're working yourselves with 97.7. You've got the bug. So you've now gone into Niagara College. And so kind of tell me how you went through that program and what it led to.
Yeah, so I took radio, television, film. They put me right into second year because I had a degree in communications. It was the first time they had tried that, kind of a partnership with Brock, which
Yep.
was really neat. And I became the news director at the radio station. I really took it seriously. I already had 4 years of university. So by the time I got to Niagara College, I was a little bit older than
Yeah.
all the 18 and 19-year-olds there who thought I was a party pooper. And I'm like, if you only knew. I've already done it. I'm over it. And
Yeah.
I'm ready to work now. You
Yeah.
know, I was ready to get a job, and they would have me host the Grape and Wine Parade. They would have me on the desk for
That's a big deal.
for the
Grape and Wine
municipal
Parade is-
elections.
yeah.
Yeah, the Grape and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hosting a parade. I'm like 19 going, yeah. No, I was closer to 24 at that point. But yeah, it was lots of fun. They put me on everything. I hosted everything on cable. So all of this was kind of happening through school. And then I got a job at a local country radio station in Welland called
Okay.
CHOW.
Sweet.
They made me do everything there because only 4 people work there. You're on the afternoon show. Plus, you're doing the morning news. I'm like, perfect.
Okay, great.
I'll do all of it.
Airtime. Let's go.
I'll do all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, $12 an hour? I'm in.
Yeah.
Tell me more. So I did that for 6 months, and then Hits FM hired me.
So they probably heard you listening and said, this girl's got something.
Well, I applied for a job because Shona Thompson, who moved on to Hamilton Morning Radio, she moved from Hits and
Okay.
CKTB. So the job came open after, I guess she was there for 10 years. I applied for it thinking I don't have a chance. I've just graduated, from school. And they hired me. So I was doing news on Hits and the AM station, CKTB. I was co-hosting the morning show with the guys on Hits FM, the Rev and Joe, shout out. And they gave me a magazine show on the AM side for the noon show.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
So you're just kind of juggling all these different things.
Yes, doing it all. It was funny. I would at 6 a.m. I would be on CKTB reading the news. At 6:30, I'd be on Hits FM reading the news.
Yeah.
a little bit differently. One was a little harder style. One was talk radio, so
Did you have to have different kind of content, like the content that you were saying? Like, would you change between the mediums and you had to be careful which ones you were, okay.
Yeah, you could be a little more loosey-goosey on the Hits FM side. You had to read it a little faster. The faster, the better.
Yeah.
And and for CKTB, it was an older audience, etc. You read a little slower.
Sure. It's funny, you kind of did the opposite. I came out of high school not really knowing the career, but I was really into music and DJing and all that. So I have a degree in sound engineering from Harris School of the Arts from Toronto. And then I was working in studios like late nights, and I'm like, I don't think so. Then I went to Brock. So it's just kind of the reverse of what you kind of did.
Yeah.
So let me see, what happened with the transition to being actually on TV? Like, how did that opportunity come to be?
Okay, so there was one time where my news director in radio was doing a sound check with me, an air check, and he says to me, Kim, what is the most important story? And I said, well, the stories change every day, so I don't know what you mean. I said, I guess the story that impacts the most people is likely the most important story. And he said, and which story is that? And again, I'm like, well, they change. I don't know. And he said, it's the weather. The weather is the story that impacts the most people. So when you read the weather, go slower. Take it easy. People need to hear it.
You never forgot that.
Never forgot it. Light bulb, boom. Weather Network was hiring. They were moving from Montreal, that was where they were situated, to Mississauga initially, and they were doing a huge hire. And I sent in my VHS tape from cable.
Yeah, your audition?
Yeah, my audition tape from cable TV, because I hosted everything on cable now.
Yeah,
I was
you recorded it off the TV, like an episode? Or
no, I got it from them. Good. Yes. I had some people,
so you had the high tech.
I had the high tech VHS tape.
The high tech cut.
Yeah, so this is 1998, probably 97 when I applied. And and they hired me.
Just like that?
Well, it wasn't just like that. Yes, they brought me in. We had an interview. Then they brought me in for an audition, which was hilarious because they said to me ahead of time, we're going to get you to do a forecast. Just come in and do one. So I'm like, sure. So I practiced. And I was doing one for the province of Ontario. I was going to start in Thunder Bay.
So this is like the green screen behind, like you're looking down, like,
You would think, right? You would think that was what it was. But when I got there, they go, oh, no, we want you to do the whole country. And also, there's no map behind me. So I'm just there with a wall behind me. Pretending I'm doing the weather from coast to coast. And
throw you in the deep end, right?
Right in the deep end. No water wings, nothing. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to drown here or if I'm going to.
West Coast here.
Where's Saskatchewan? I don't.
It became like a geography test for you.
It was real. Yeah, it was funny. And I think about the kids today; they have it so easy with maps behind them and whatnot.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you started with their office in Mississauga, but it's now in Oakville, right?
Yes.
If you're driving north on the 403, you get to Winston Churchill, you kind of see this satellite dishes, and it kind of looks like Fort Knox. A lot of security around the building, which I've always wondered why.
Why is it so secure?
Yeah.
Well, it's mainly secure because it's a television station.
Right.
I mean, Weather Network is so much more than television station, but television stations, they need to protect their on-air personalities because sometimes people get, they feel like they're a little closer to the people on air than they actually are. We have a way of bringing people in and making them feel like, we know them personally.
Their living room, right?
That's right. Yeah. We're in their living room. We're in their bedroom.
Well, that's why they didn't let me in.
So we moved from being at 1 Robert Speck Parkway in Mississauga across from Square One to Bristol Circle in Oakville and built a whole new building. So we were renting a space in the other building, and then we built our own.
Needs.
Yes. So it was a gorgeous building. They moved there in 2005, I believe, and the CEO, the owner, the starter of the Weather Network, Pierre Morissette, I think he wanted it a little closer to where he lives too, a little shorter of a commute, and why not?
Why not?
And so it was all built to our specs, and gorgeous.
Let me ask you, is there a day in Canadian weather where you were on air and something happened that you had to step up and kind of announce to the world that this is a situation that's happening in Canada? Is there something that stands out?
Well, I mean, it kind of happens all the time when we have tornado warnings.
Sure.
All of a sudden, everything switches at the Weather
real
Network.
serious, right?
Everything gets real serious. We're going live.
Yep.
We need extra people in. We're going to do live stream now. That's what I mean. In the old days, no live stream, but now it's a big deal. So I mean, I always say in the old days, but the big tornado in Edmonton. There are things that happen that we may not have had all of the social media, all the video evidence that we do now.
Yeah.
But now it's things like, for me, the wildfire in Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal. There was a personal connection as well. As they're fleeing this, of course, all the cars are stopped.
I remember
they
the
can't
footage.
get out.
Like it's crazy.
And I have a
pitch
cousin.
black and red. It's like the apocalypse.
It's like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
People have one way out.
Yeah, that was scary.
There's flames behind them. And my cousin lived there, and she was 9 months pregnant. She had 2 other children, a dog, and they're trying to get out. And she's sending me photos from the window of the car as I'm at the Weather Network, and I'm personally terrified for her. Like, they made it out. They made it into they worked for the oil sands. And so they had a lot of bunkers there for people. So the whole family stayed in one little room. And then they flew her out on the first flight possible to Edmonton. And she got on a plane, had her baby, safe, sound.
Wow.
Everything's great. But talk about terrifying.
I mean, just even like the fact that they're driving away from everything they have too, right?
Yeah.
That was a very profound thing that happened in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of people, didn't have homes to come home to.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And now we're seeing it more and more. Yellowknife, the entire city evacuated last year. That has never happened. They're all having to travel 500-600 kilometers away from home. Thankfully, Yellowknife was spared.
Yeah.
The flames didn't come into the town. But I just think how scary that would be for anybody trying to, you're trying to escape disaster, but you're also leaving everything behind.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, having you on today as a national broadcaster, I was a little nervous, seeing as I'm just presenting here to Oakville usually. Has there been on-air bloopers with you, or you've kind of messed things up or mispronounced? Has it happened, or are you just...
Sure. Yeah, it's happened. Now it happens less because we record things. So if you mess up, you can do it again. But when I started, every single hit was live. And so there was more of a chance to mess up. I don't think I've done anything particularly bad, but I had an earring fall out of my ear, and then it hit the ground. I'm like, oh, 1 second, Or I've dropped the clicker and then said, I just dropped my clicker. I'm just going to pick that up.
Yeah.
Because everything is ad-libbed at the Weather Network. There's no scripts. There's no teleprompter.
It's always changing. The weather's always changing. Too,
right.
It's not like you're scripting it.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll script, say, force of nature, so our news stories from around the world. But when we're talking about the weather, we're just looking at a camera and chatting.
Yeah.
Which is helpful because if something happens, if you screw up or whatever, and you're just talking naturally, you're going, oh, must be a Monday.
Yeah.
You can cover it up easily.
But I think that's why, people make relationships sometimes with the weather people more directly, because if you look at the main anchors just telling news, it's not as personal. I mean, some maybe, but you guys are a little more natural with and the information that you're telling is important to that person. I'm making decisions on my day based on what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
And the trust that I have in you.
That's 100% true. And I've said that so many times that when you're watching the news, the anchor is a little more disconnected.
The reading, yeah.
But when you're watching the Weather Network, the people are talking to you.
It's more natural.
And
a
lot of times it's the mornings as well. So I used to be on the morning show for like 10 years. And that's a very personal space for people. If they're getting ready for work or the kids are getting ready for school, and they'll just leave the Weather Network on all morning.
Yeah.
And you're in their room. So
and it's like more of a positive, higher energy point of your day rather than coming home and watching the evening news.
That's right. And it's usually a little less depressing, although the weather is becoming news headlines more and more.
So, I mean, obviously being a national host, your social media platforms, you have so many followers. Tell me how that's kind of impacted your life. And I know you make a point to kind of keep people updated, not only on the TV end of it, but now on your social end of it. how's that experience for you, being in the position that you're in?
Yeah, and I find that they're all different too. What you put on Facebook is not the same thing you put on Twitter.
Right, yeah.
I have a different audience on different platforms as well.
Younger, older.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, exactly.
The grandparents are on Facebook. The youngers are on Instagram.
That's right. And the grandparents, they're my people.
Yep.
They're my audience. I tell you, they love the Weather Network. But I have a really great following on Facebook, my public Facebook page. I have a public one. I have a private one.
Yep.
Because people are very interactive and they really do care about, me. And if I put personal stuff on there, a photo or something I did on the weekend, they're very happy. On Twitter, I'll never put that stuff.
No.
I'll put weather photos. I'll retweet
Did
people.
you at one point? Is there a reason you don't now?
No, I just think it's not the platform for it.
Okay.
I think people go there for information. Sometimes I'll just do a fun tweet or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have to know my audience. I find people can be a little scarier on Twitter. It's just a little more anonymous than Facebook. Although, that being said, and this is really strange, as somebody who's been in broadcasting for 30 years and the Weather Network for 26 years, I have very few trolls coming after me. Very, very few, minuscule, really.
Yeah.
So I have not actually adapted to a thicker skin because I haven't had to.
Okay.
I've had people
Good.
be extremely kind to me. So it usually goes the other way where people are like, I love you so much. I feel like, you're
Well, that's
you're my
great.
best friend.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, Kim is my friend. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. But it's nice that they feel that way.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky. And I also note that half my audience on Facebook is male and half is female. And that's very unusual as well.
It is unusual, yeah.
So I think, I think I'm appealing to the right people. And social media has worked in my favor. I know that's not always the case, but for me, it's been pretty good.
So I'm going to ask you about a specific date. And the date, I know there were things leading into it, but I know the date, December 1st of 2016. Mm-hmm. Do you want to kind of explain to our audience what you went through and what you heard the news on that day?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so December 1st, 2016 is the day I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was not a surprise for me. A lot of people are surprised by that diagnosis. They'll get a mammogram and they'll be called back and they'll be told. But for me, I knew I had breast cancer. I had seen the changes. The lump was nothing normal. Everything was abnormal, and I knew there was something wrong. So for me, by the time I saw my GP, I had an ultrasound, I had another ultrasound, I had a mammogram, I had a biopsy, and I finally, 7.5 weeks later, ended up in a surgeon's office, and he told me that I had stage 2B breast cancer. I was like, okay, I'm glad it's not worse. For me, it was almost a relief. I thought it was worse than what it was.
It sounds like for most of them, it becomes as a surprise sometimes.
That's right.
What's this? And very quickly they find out it can be, this bad news. But
Yes.
It sounds like you had more of a kind of a personal recognition of your own health and feeling.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I highly encourage that for all women to self-advocate, to know your body, to recognize changes, because, and I always tell this to people, breast cancer is curable if you catch it early. If it's stage 0 or stage 1, you have like a 95% chance of survival that first 5 years. And it might be even higher than that. Stage 4, it drops dramatically, your chances of survival. Then it's metastatic, then it's spread to other parts of your body. And the only difference between 1 and 4 is timing. So
Yeah, when they find the timing, when they find it.
yes,
Yeah.
when you get screened, if you find it early, your chances are much better. And I think people get afraid to find out the news, so they put it off, or they don't do it, or they don't want a mammogram. And that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
So you've had this successful career in broadcasting. You've had this life-changing event, and you've survived this. Mm-hmm. How does the breast cancer and in your career, how did it merge together? How are they living simultaneously with each other? Because I know you're obviously a patient advocate now.
Right.
So coming back after this, what was your kind of direction with it?
Well, I did both almost simultaneously. So it wasn't like I took off, disappeared for 10 months, got well, came back to work and said, I know my hair's a little shorter than it was before. I have to tell you something. That's not how it happened. So what happened was I posted on social media that I had been diagnosed with breast cancer and I needed to take some time off. Just going to go kick its ass. I'll be right back after these messages. So I said, I think I started with every day 70 women in Canada are diagnosed with breast cancer. And on December 1st, I was one of them. So I'm out of here, right? Anyway, the feedback that I got was overwhelming, because before that, sure, people interacted with me on social media, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wow, people really care about me. And now they're telling me stories about how I was with them when they were, breastfeeding overnight and I was keeping them company, or they were in the hospital and I was the voice that was comforting them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And things people had never said to me before. It was almost like being at your own funeral. And then she did this. And I'm like, I did, whatever it was. So it was
a celebration of life.
Beautiful. It was a celebration of life while I was still alive.
Yeah.
And then I did this crazy ass thing, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not, which was have my hair shaved live on Facebook. I had never had done any live Facebook. And I said, so my hairdresser is also a close friend, and my husband came to shoot it. My youngest daughter was there. My oldest was in university at the time in Ottawa. So I said to my friend, this is like a game day decision. I may change my mind. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Were you starting to lose it? Or
it was just about to fall out.
Okay.
Because it falls out right after your second chemo. First chemo, you're good. Second chemo, it starts to come out. And my hair was probably about this length, and I didn't want it to be falling out as long strands. And my friend said, okay, let's go get a wig first so it can kind of match your hair now versus trying to figure it out after you've lost your hair. We did that. And then I went live on Facebook and talked about my diagnosis and talked about the treatment plan, which was chemotherapy, mastectomy, radiation, all that stuff. And I said it very matter-of-factly, like I'm talking to you, very positively, even though I was terrified. And she just shaved my hair until it was really short, not bald, but like a brush cut. And during it, I was getting lots of great messages from my family and friends and people. And then in a week, 100,000 people had watched it. And again, way beyond anything I had ever done on social media before, did not expect those numbers. And I thought, okay, I want to educate people. I'm like, I have this platform, so why not use it? But what I didn't expect were people saying things like, my 3 kids watch this so that they would be prepared for when I lose my hair. Twins, 9, and an 8-year-old. And they found comfort in seeing you. And another woman said, my breast cancer's come back. I dread losing my hair the most. But now I feel motivated, inspired by you. I'm ready to do it tomorrow. I did mine on New Year's Eve, by the way, because I like to be dramatic. And the next day was New Year's Day, and she said, my daughter will help me. And this is when really the light just flipped in my brain that, I didn't think, I was just going to educate people, and it turned out to be...
It's not like you went into this head on saying, I'm going to... But it just seems like this was kind of the silver lining of the positive impact that you can have.
Right, which I didn't expect.
And it is profound impact that you were having.
It was profound, and I had no idea. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought, well, I'm a broadcaster, I am a communicator, so why not, let's just go along and show people what it's really like to have cancer. Like, let's get real about this. People are so quiet about it, don't talk about it enough. And so many people are going through it. But I didn't think I was actually going to help anyone. I just thought that I was going to maybe educate people.
Right. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a person on this planet that hasn't been impacted either directly or indirectly by breast cancer.
Yes.
And now you've gone through this. You've using your social media platforms, you've found how you can kind of advocate and help and be an inspiration. So where does that go with the Weather Network? Where do you see the future of your role here?
Well, the Weather Network, while I was on leave and during treatment, teamed up with Breast Cancer Canada. And I got a phone call from my boss saying, would you like to be a spokesperson for them? they want to work with us. They want to do a campaign with us. And we think you would be the perfect person. And because I was blogging, I was on a radio show every week. I was doing a lot, just telling my own story. My story was being published on Yahoo website, so it was really getting out there. So Breast Cancer Canada probably thought, well, here's a public figure talking openly about breast cancer. Let's team up. So as a result, I came in for a meeting. I really liked what Breast Cancer Canada was doing. They're all about putting their money to research. Let's find out what's causing this. Let's find out if there's a way to prevent it. Let's find a way to treat people that's maybe less invasive. All of this. And I'm like, yeah, let's team up. But because I spoke publicly, because I worked with Breast Cancer Canada, all of these incredible things started to happen to me, and things that would have never happened to me. So the year that I was diagnosed, I had recently had a double mastectomy. I was maybe 2 weeks out of my surgery. I'm at a Blue Jays game for the Mother's Day game. I'm wearing my pink wig. My 2 kids are with me and my husband. I'm just sitting in the stands watching the game. The next year, Mother's Day game, which is where they donate money to breast cancer, every MLB team.
Right.
I'm standing on third base. Aaron Sanchez has given me a bouquet of flowers. I get a beautiful pink bat and all kinds of stuff from the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm sitting in the box with other survivors. They're telling my story on the loudspeaker. I'm on the big Jumbotron. 1 year later, unbelievable. Yeah. I never saw it. I never saw that happening.
Yeah.
And it was because I was public, and it was because I teamed up with Breast Cancer Canada, because they got me that opportunity.
The 10-year-old that stood up and read the poem
That's right.
is using her platform and her skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was mind-blowing.
Let me ask you, there's posters of you and billboards.
Yes.
I know it's a very personal thing for women, but you made a decision of how you wanted to kind of do with your body what you wanted to do.
That's right.
Can you tell that story?
Sure. So normally women will get reconstructive surgery after a double mastectomy. And my oncologist said to me, will you wait 3 years before you get that done? And I said, why? And he said, well, your cancer is very aggressive, and I worry that if it comes back, we might not be able to catch it as quickly. And I said, in that moment, how about we don't do that then? How about we don't have reconstructive surgery? And I made the decision there and then just to stay flat as a choice and not to go under the knife anymore. Just flip the switch. I said, my life is more important than anything else here. And I've gone through a hell of a lot. And I don't need it. Yeah. So that's why I made that decision.
And in May of 2022...
5 years later...
you made an addition.
I did make an addition. I changed it up a little bit.
You did.
So I decided to get a full chest tattoo. I chose sunflowers, and I chose that because to me, sunflowers, when I was going through treatment, I just kept seeing pictures of them. And the theme that goes behind sunflowers is stand tall and face the sun. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stand tall and face the sun, and sunflowers it's the perfect analogy for that. So I tattooed I didn't tattoo my chest. Beautiful tattoo artist Julia Bell tattooed my chest, and here we are.
Obviously the tattoo was a personal choice for yourself, but now it's on billboards in Toronto. Did you ever kind of foresee you becoming kind of the poster child for breast cancer awareness?
Well, it's so funny because when I got it, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my husband. I came home with a chest tattoo. Surprise, everyone. I'm not kidding.
Well, it's your body.
That's right. My body, my choice.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was talking to someone from Breast Cancer Canada, and I said, I want women to see this. I want people to see that this is a choice that they can make. I feel so great about it. I feel so great about my body. I'd accepted my body and the changes already, but this took it to a different level. There's acceptance, and then there's loving something.
Right.
I love the art, and I wanted women to know that they don't have to have reconstruction if they don't want it, and if they choose to stay flat, then also they can maybe choose to have a tattoo. So it was right around the time they said, well, we're actually doing a new campaign. We're doing some brand new branding. Would you be interested? in being a part of this campaign and showing your tattoo? And I said, 100% I would.
Wow.
And it was scary as hell. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't go into this easily.
No.
But to me, I thought, let's take it away from me. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Let's make it about somebody else. And then if somebody sees this and is inspired, or maybe sees themselves reflected back, because I hear often that women don't see themselves reflected back, especially if they choose not to have reconstruction. They don't see a lot of images of flat women. And that's why I did it.
It's truly inspirational. I'm going to segue into the Robcast Rapid Asks. And so the first question we always ask everyone is, you're on death row, you've got one last meal, by yourself. What's on that plate?
By yourself.
By yourself.
By yourself. I'm glad it's death row, because hopefully you're not sick.
No.
You know, you could just eat whatever the hell
it's
you
your
want to
last
eat.
meal. There's the last plate.
All right. Maybe I'll take my time with it. So a lobster tail, it'll take a while to crack into that, right? I mean,
I like where this is going. Okay.
All right, so let's get an East Coast lobster tail. It'll take me about an hour and a half to get through. I'll get some walnuts. A papaya. I'll get a watermelon that I can cut into.
Oh, so now we're just
no. They're probably
I'm a
not.
little slow,
They're probably
sorry.
not going to give me a lot of sharp objects,
Yeah.
but I would love some prime rib, some garlic mashed potatoes.
A little jus on top.
Oh
Just,
yeah, beautiful, and maybe some creme brulee for dessert. I'm not gonna have a stomach ache because I'm going right. I'm
You're
going
going.
soon.
Yeah, it's the last
like that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't have to worry about a tummy ache. Yeah, I'm gonna have all of that.
You are such an inspiration to so many people out there. If you had the opportunity to sit down with anyone in the world, dead or alive, to pick their brain and listen to them, who would that person be?
Oh boy, I have so many I would love to speak to. Michelle Obama, Margaret Atwood. I love powerful women who have a lot to say and who are also seemingly very kind. But honestly, if I could bring anyone back, it would be my mother. My mother died suddenly in 2020. I would love to sit down one more time with her. I still have things to ask her, and I still want to hear what she has to say.
Yeah. If you could go anywhere in the world for a week, is there a spot that you want to be?
There's so many places I haven't been that I could answer this in so
What's
many ways.
the top of the list?
But I know I'm going to Italy next year for the first time, so I'm
Fantastic.
excited about that. I'm going for a friend's wedding. But I would love to go to Ireland.
Okay.
That's where my roots are,
Is that
and I
roots?
haven't
Yep.
been. It's calling me, that Irish music and the
My mother went
the
through the same
sadness.
thing, and somehow it calls, and she went over and met all her old ancestors and all these people, and it's quite an experience, so I highly
Yes.
recommend that.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. You've had this awesome day, nailed the weather, good to go, sunny skies, sunroof down. What music are you putting in the car?
Whoo, boy.
Did I say CD? Jeez, cars even have CD players? What song are we listening to?
You're talking to the right person.
Yeah, I know.
If we're talking
VHS,
about,
I got it.
If we're talking about CDs.
Yeah,
Oh
80s
boy.
kids, great.
I know. I love 80s music. You know, my favorite summer song, if I was just to blast some music, probably Don Henley, Boys of Summer. Love that song. Takes me back to a place and a time.
Always, the good songs always do.
I love the Trues. I love the Cranberries.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all over the place,
Yeah.
but as long as the tunes are cranking.
Kim, I appreciate you taking the time to come and tell your story, and I hope it's been an inspiration for everyone out there, as it has been for me. And stay tuned for another episode of the Robcast.